A field of rotting lily. The earth groans. It fractures. Black iron chariot wheels crush the flowers into the dirt. A shadow swallows the sun. A girl is taken. That is the official report. A mother's frantic call echoing across millennia. The Lord of the Dead stole my daughter. But crime scenes lie. Look closer at the dirt. Look at the footprints. There are no drag marks. The girl didn't run. She reached out. For thousands of years, we have been told the story of a tragic victim, a beautiful maiden snatched from the light and dragged into the abyss by a monster. But the evidence doesn't add up. The timeline is flawed. The psychology is wrong. The greatest victim in mythological history might actually be its greatest mastermind. Because this isn't a story about a kidnapping. This is the story of a prison break. And the girl didn't just escape. She orchestrated a hostile takeover of hell itself.
Unveil the legends.
To understand the crime, you have to understand the cage. Before the abduction, there was no Persephone. She didn't have a name. She was known simply as Kore, the maiden. She lived in eternal spring, but eternal spring isn't paradise. It is stagnation. Nothing dies, which means nothing grows. Her mother, Demeter, wasn't just a goddess of the harvest. She was a warden, a suffocating, paranoid tyrant of a mother, built a gilded terrarium for her daughter. Every hour monitored, every companion vetted. Perfect safety, perfect boredom. Kore was a trophy, a porcelain doll forced to smile under a relentless, blinding sun. And then there was Hades. We picture a villain with horns and fire. Wipe that from your mind. Hades was the CEO of the Underworld. He was isolated, silent, overworked. He didn't want chaos. He wanted order. He was the only god who actually did his job. But his kingdom was empty of warmth. It was a vast, echoing vault of shadows. Tension was building. The cosmic scales were unbalanced. You cannot keep a predator in a petting zoo forever. Kore was suffocating in the light. She was desperate for the dark. She didn't need a savior. She needed an accomplice. The scene of the crime is the Meadow of Enna. For exactly 1 moment, Demeter looks away. The nymphs are distracted. Kore wanders toward the edge of the field. She sees it, a narcissus flower. It doesn't look like the others. It glows with a sick, alluring light. It smells of ozone and crushed minerals. It is bait. Kore reaches out. Her fingers brush the stem. The earth detonates. Fissures rip through the bedrock. The smell of sulfur and dying vegetation violently floods the meadow. 4 immortal black horses burst from the mantle, pulling a chariot of pure, cold iron. Hades stands at the reins. The nymphs scream, they scatter, but Kore, the psychological profile of a kidnapping victim, dictates panic, flight, paralyzing fear. Kore stands perfectly still. Look at the dynamics of this moment. Hades locks eyes with her. He sees someone who understands the crushing weight of isolation. Kore looks at him and sees the one thing her mother could never give her, a door. She steps into the chariot. She doesn't fight. The horses pivot. They dive. The earth seals, shut behind them like a tomb. The silence returns. Above ground, Demeter realizes her prize is gone. A mother's blinding panic triggers a global ice age. Crops wither. Humans starve. The earth begins to die screaming. But below ground, the air is perfectly still. The shadows wrap around. The maiden, a crown is being forged. Here is where the history books try to sell you a lie. The official narrative says she wept in the dark. It says she starved herself, begging for the sun. And then Hades tricked her. He forced her to eat the seeds of a pomegranate, binding her to the underworld forever. It's a good story. It's also completely absurd. Gods do not get tricked by fruit. Corey grew up as the daughter of the harvest goddess. She knew the biology of every seed, every root, every vine in existence. She knew the ancient, unbreakable laws of the deep earth. To consume the food of the dead is to bind your blood to the realm. She didn't eat those seeds by accident. She ate them deliberately. She wasn't a captive starving in a cell. She was a strategist evaluating a vacant throne. She looked around an empire of billions of souls, a kingdom of untold mineral wealth, and realized something terrifying. Hades didn't capture her. She captured him. This is confirmed by her name. When she went into the earth, she was Corey, the helpless maiden. When she ate those seeds, she took a new name, Persephone. In ancient Greek, Persephone doesn't mean springtime. It translates to the bringer of destruction. She chose the seeds. 6 bites. 6 months of undisputed, absolute power every single year. She weaponized her own kidnapping to secure a crown. Demeter thought she was tearing the earth apart to rescue a terrified child. She was actually trying to pull back a monster. The standoff breaks the world. Humanity is going extinct. Demeter refuses to let a single blade of grass grow until her daughter is returned. Zeus, panicked by the lack of prayers, intervenes. It is the ultimate cosmic custody battle. He demands Persephone return to the surface. But the law of the pomegranate holds firm. The contract is signed in red juice. The ruling is handed down. Split custody. 6 months in the sun. 6 months in the abyss. Look at the brutal irony of this outcome. Demeter spent centuries trying to keep her daughter perfectly safe, entirely pure, and completely controlled. In doing so, she created a psychological pressure cooker that turned her daughter into the queen of death. Demeter's obsessive love caused a very winter she created in her grief. Persephone returns to the surface every spring, bringing the flowers and the rain. But she is no longer a porcelain doll. She wears black iron. Her eyes hold the weight of billions of ghosts. The sanctuary became a slaughterhouse. The victim became the warden. We build the strongest cages out of love, and then we wonder why the prisoners learn to love the dark. Persephone didn't just survive the underworld. She owned it. Ancient Greeks were so terrified of her, they refused to speak her name out loud. They called her the Dread Queen. Tell me in the comments below, if you were given the choice, would you choose a suffocating cage made of sunlight or a throne of absolute power in the abyss? Persephone ruled the dead with an iron fist. She was merciless, unbending, but she did have exactly one weakness. Decades later, a mortal musician would walk right through her gates. He would stand before the Dread Queen and sing a song so violently heartbreaking, it made the Queen of Monsters weep on her throne. But what happens when that musician breaks the one single rule she gives him? Find out next time when we open the Orpheus file. See you in the dark.